It's a DadToons review. That's a new thing that we're doing. I'm Braden.
Oh, and I'm Matt.
We're dads, and it's a new show. It's a new thing that we're doing. It's called DadToons Reviews. Today we're doing Looney Tunes, The Day the Earth Blew Up.
Yep, buckle up, and here we go!
DadToons Reviews, talking something new. DadToons Reviews, dimension peer review. DadToons Reviews, we're talking about it all. We're being busy, dizzy, television, big and small.
Okay, so we're talking about The Day the Earth Blew Up today. So this is a big deal in cartoon world, I think. This is the first theatrical Looney Tunes cartoon that's not a Space Jam. It's not a live action, and that's not a compilation. So it took till 2025 for that to happen. Porky and Daffy, the classic animated odd couple, turn into unlikely heroes when their antics at the local bubblegum factory uncover a secret alien mind control plot. Against all odds, the two are determined to save their town and the world. That is, if they don't drive each other crazy in the process. So I guess let's just start with general thoughts. So Matt,
sure.
What was your, when you first saw the movie, what were your first impressions?
Well, I was a bit taken aback at first by the way that Farmer Jim looked. I thought that was a very interesting choice, given that it's not a kind of a style that we've seen in Looney Tunes before. Yeah. I don't remember ever seeing a very limited animation, painted replica of a person just with the mouth moving. So that was kind of an interesting stylistic choice to have right off the bat at the front.
In general, I'd say that's the first thing you notice is kind of the look of it. And it's kind of a mixed medium kind of thing. Farmer Jim, which I loved that stuff. The first 10 minutes of the movie was the best part of the whole movie. I loved it. It was like Tex Avery Looney Tunes. It was wonderful. They really captured it right in that first 10 minutes. And yes, I think it looks like Looney Tunes, but also if you remember the very beginning of the movie is that scientist discovering is it a meteor?
Oh, yes.
Right? And he looks like Batman. He looks like Bruce Timm Batman. Right?
Yes. A
lot of the humans look like WB Batman, I think. Or Batman Beyond. The Bruce Timm animation was kind of what I was getting.
Yeah. Well, I was feeling like they kind of look like it's very interesting how they choose certain humans to look like Looney Tunes, and then there's humans that look like humans. But it's almost like the ones that that you're normally supposed to take seriously take a more human form.
Well, in classic Looney Tunes, how many humans were there? I think Yosemite Sam, Elmer Fudd, those are classic Looney Tunes humans, but they don't look like humans.
Right, but there's Looney Tunes humans. Yeah. It's if you are a Looney Tune, you look like this little cartoonish blob guy.
Sure. Yeah, that's fair.
And so the scientist apparently is not a Looney Tune. He's a normal, regular guy.
Oh, that's an interesting kind of way to look at it. It's these are Looney Tunes living among real people.
Yeah, that's the way I kind of interpret that.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess and when it comes to the animation, I'd say 90% of the time it was awesome. I was getting a lot of Ren and Stimpy vibes, lots of weird, outrageous drawings like Ren and Stimpy. And then I loved the mixed medium kind of stuff they did with Farmer Jim. But then they do sometimes really strongly capture the classic Looney Tunes look. But one of the complaints I have is that it also kind of sometimes looks like Tiny Toon Adventures.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where that human non-Looney Tune look came from, because I feel like, in Pinky and the Brain and things like that, it's kind of the Spielberg style look. And so I think they took a lot of cues from that Spielberg style Tiny Toon thing and kind of mashed it up into here. It's almost like they're like, nobody knows the difference, so why not just, you know, this is what people vaguely remember.
So going into it, I was thinking, like, how are they going to interpret Looney Tunes? Like, are they going to get it right? Are they going to get the vibe right? Because they never have. Like, Space Jam 2 is, I think, maybe the worst movie ever made. It might be the worst movie ever made. Yeah. What's worse?
That's a good question. What is worse than Space Jam 2? Scholars have asked that question many decades now.
But
even before Space Jam 2 was created.
But this is the closest they've ever got to, like, getting the feel of Looney Tunes right, like, in a modern film.
But does it feel more Looney Tunes than Space Jam 1?
Yes. I'd say
that's a bold statement.
I'd say definitely yes. They capture, like, the classic Looney Tunes, like the 1930s Looney Tunes, like the kinds of Looney Tunes we're allowed to show on our YouTube channel. They, like, capture that better than anybody has. Like, Daffy Duck is Daffy, you know. He's not just neurotic. He's Daffy.
I will say what they did right is they decided to focus in on two characters, technically three characters. You bring in Petunia, but the two main characters are Daffy and Porky, and keeping it that small of scale, at least you can, like, kind of tell a cohesive story. There are some things that, you know, I have opinions on that we'll probably get into in a little bit, that they could have done more of with more of the Looney Tunes universe, right?
Definitely. So, maybe let's wrap up the things we liked about it, and then talk about.
I mean, there's a lot of things I liked about it that we haven't even talked about, but I think you got to as far as the Ren and Stimpy vibe. You know, there was the still life, you know, painting thing, but also. You know, they had when they were trying to figure out different jobs and things, and they decided to, let's go viral on social media. That was a pretty funny thing and their way to go viral was just by having twerking butt cheeks on screen. So they're just like, we're just going to go viral. So all you got to do is twerk. Yes. We're twerking farm animals. There you go. So that was kind of Ren and Stimpy vibe. I mean, there was a lot of, I don't want to say potty humor. There were definitely some, you know, farts and things like that.
Gross out humor.
Yeah, gross out humor.
Yeah. There was a good amount of that, I'd say. Which, like, you don't think of, like, classic Looney Tunes, or I don't think of that as being a part of classic Looney Tunes, but I like it. I'm glad it's there.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting how when they started to go for Daffy and Porky get a job, they pulled it into that 4:3 aspect ratio in the middle to make it feel like it's a classic Looney Tunes short.
They did like a mini Looney Tunes short in the middle. And I loved that. I thought that was hilarious. I thought it was really funny. It was like gag after gag, and that was cool how they did that.
And I guess we didn't really give a warning, but, like, we should probably give a spoiler alert for a lot of the things that we're talking about right now, because this is pretty much a spoiler episode here of DadToons Reviews.
Yes, spoilers. If you don't want to be spoiled for Looney Tunes, The Day the Earth Blew Up, then don't watch. You've probably been spoiled already. But if you don't want to be
a little bit
spoiled.
Yeah, I mean, you want to go into the theater surprised when you see twerking Daffy butt cheeks.
Yes, we've spoiled that for you.
We have, unfortunately.
Yes.
But yeah, I liked how they showed it made it look like that, classic 4x3. And then when they end the segment, it goes back to wide, but then you see the end screen, that's all folks thing. And
it's like a wooden thing that they're standing by.
Yeah, it's just like a set.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. I love that.
Yes, I like that too. And then like the plot kicks in with the alien. Just broad strokes, I'll say.
That was about a quarter of the way in is when the villain comes into play and is revealed.
Yeah, I like the B movie element of it. I like the alien invaders. I like the craziness of the plot, and I like that it like keeps escalating. I love that it's all about chewing gum for some reason. That tickles my fancy. But I kept thinking that I was watching the climax. I kept thinking like, oh, this is the big moment before the end. I thought that maybe 3 or 4 times before it was actually true, which is great. And that's perfect for like Looney Tunes. That should be the energy.
I guess so. But there was a point at which I felt like it had gone on too long.
Yeah.
I think my kids felt the same way. That said, they ended up liking the movie eventually, and they actually started playing around the house. I heard my son saying, "Oh, our roof is wrecked. Our roof is, and we got. Oh no, there's zombies. We got to run from the zombies."
That's awesome.
Like I could tell that he was like playing it out in his head. And
That's awesome.
He called it the Pig movie.
Okay.
He called it the Pig movie. Because he's like, "Can we see the Pig movie again?"
I love that.
Okay, yeah. Which is funny because he's seen Looney Tunes before, and maybe I guess he just doesn't. It hasn't solidified itself in its head to like what these characters are. I know he knows like Bugs Bunny.
Yeah,
but that's probably the only real Looney Tune that he actually knows, and he probably doesn't even. He's only seen a couple cartoons of Bugs Bunny, but he's definitely seen them.
Yeah. So maybe this is a good time for us to talk about the characters they chose to use in the movie. So This is the Looney Tunes movie, and it stars kind of exclusively Porky Pig and Daffy Duck. I think
and Petunia Pig.
And Petunia Pig. I think that's a great choice. Porky and Daffy are like the classic Looney Tunes pairing.
The odd couple.
You'd think, why didn't they choose Bugs Bunny? I think Bugs has been done a bunch. He's in all of those Space Jam movies.
Yeah.
So but we haven't seen Daffy and Porky together this way since like the 40s. So it's awesome. That's really cool. Why isn't the alien Marvin the Martian? That's ridiculous.
Well, yeah, there's a few things I would say about that. Again, spoiler alert for people that don't know, but there's a twist towards the end when it comes to the villain. But I feel like they were going for you to have like a sinister vibe with this alien, right? You were supposed to think, oh, this is like a really bad guy.
Yeah.
He's really,
like they wanted you to be
creepy.
afraid. Yeah.
Yeah. And he was still a little bumbling. There were times when he was like falling down the stairs and stuff, but he was still sinister, and you could tell that, obviously he was mind controlling people and he was able to like spy on people through the gum and things like that. So it did kind of feel like it was, a difficult presence to overcome at the time. Whereas Marvin's always been kind of an antagonistic figure, oh, I'm going to capture you and take you to my ship and whatever. And like,
that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
I don't really do Marvin that much, but
that's pretty good Marvin.
I think I can take Eric Bowles' job with that.
There you go.
But yeah, so he's always been kind of antagonistic. So it like there wouldn't be any sort of a twist if it was Marvin, right? Because that's his motivation, is he does want to take over. He does want to like, you know, he does want to kidnap people and whatever.
Sure. Well,
so, yeah.
I would argue, you can change Marvin's motivations. That's part of the fun of Looney Tunes, is that the characters don't have to be fully consistent from short to short. Like in one episode, you know, Porky's a farmer, and one episode he's an accountant or a salesman, you know?
Yeah, but
like,
he's usually, in those scenarios, he's usually a protagonist, right? He's supposed to be the one that the audience is kind of like sympathizing with. So yeah, you have the protagonist, you have the antagonist. Obviously, like Elmer Fudd is pretty much always an antagonist.
Yeah, that's true.
There are definitely like little instances where he is the protagonist. Like, you know, for example, when we have Bugs taking advantage of him in The Wabbit Who Came to Supper.
Yeah.
You know, he is the protagonist, but he's also doing nasty things. And
that's true. That's eventually such a great cartoon.
Yeah, eventually we're like, oh yeah, this is a bad guy. He probably, you know, deserves this anyways.
Yes. Yeah, that's a fair point. But I think part of it is just they wanted to create their own. Like, the fact that there are no other Looney Tunes besides Porky, Daffy, and Petunia, like, that's clearly an intentional choice. Like, they didn't... So, but it also, it makes it feel like it's not the Looney Tunes movie, you know? It's the Porky and Daffy movie.
Yeah, definitely. And I would... They did say a Looney Tunes movie. It's not the Looney Tunes movie. Whereas, like, you would kind of count Space Jam as, like, the Looney Tunes movie because you're featuring a little bit of everybody. You know, your main character is Bugs and Michael Jordan. But
all the Looney Tunes. All the Looney Tunes.
All the Looney Tunes, including Michael Jordan.
Like, you think of, like, the Muppet movie, and it's, like... it's a showcase of all of the Muppets.
Yes, yeah. You're going on a road trip. You're meeting, you know, this guy, that guy. You meet Rolf in a bar playing the piano.
And like, if you're a Muppet fan, you watch it and you want to see your favorite Muppet. You know, not true of this movie. If your favorite Looney Tune isn't Daffy or Porky, you're in trouble.
Yeah, that's true. And there are definitely some scenarios that they could have inserted random Looney Tune cameos, especially when they're showing how widespread the spoiler alert, there's zombies in this.
Yes.
They start to become zombies by chewing a bubble gum that the alien has infiltrated into the bubblegum factory. And so the entire world starts chewing this bubble gum. Apparently it's that popular. So everybody's chewing this gum, and we're seeing little glimpses of what's happening across the earth.
Yes.
You could easily have, you know, different Looney Tunes in different scenes in different places, and they're all reacting to what's happening, or maybe they're zombies. You know, like, there's all kinds of fun things you could do.
Yeah, like in Paris, maybe Pepe Le Pew is doing something. In Australia or New Zealand, Tasmanian
Australia,
Devil.
Yeah. Although he's usually like all over the place.
But yes. Yeah, you could have done that. I kind of kept expecting it.
Speedy Gonzales in Mexico.
I was expecting a Bugs Bunny cameo somewhere. I was like, when is
you would
Bugs...
assume?
Like,
you would assume.
It wasn't until like the credits rolled where I was like, oh, okay, there's none. Like, they're not doing it.
Yeah, it's just very interesting, especially given the fact that, okay, so like the main person that's doing voices in this thing is Eric Bauza, and he does most of the Looney Tunes voices now. So like, it wouldn't even cost more for them to add in other cameos.
That's true.
He already does Bugs Bunny and other characters. So like,
this just was clearly on. They wanted it to be the Porky and Daffy movie, and which I think is I'm glad they did it that way. I think it's an admirable choice. I kind of would have liked. I would have liked to see Bugs Bunny just even like in the background, or even like working at a grocery store.
Just this very small cameo where it's like uneventful.
Yes, like that would have been nice.
I was gonna separate this into a fun fact section, right?
Okay,
but like
it's time for the fun fact section.
I guess. Yeah, fun facts. All right. So the mayor is Newman, who also appeared in Space Jam.
Oh,
what's his actual
the voice
name?
Of Newman. Wayne Knight. Yeah, Wayne Knight
is the mayor, but he's just an old guy, notice. And so he's doing like an old guy voice.
Wow, I did not notice that.
Famously, he's in Space Jam. Is he connected to the Looney Tunes in any other way?
I don't know, but he's one of the best parts of Space Jam, in my opinion. He's great, but that is weird that he's in 2 Looney Tunes things.
And he's probably the only one in this movie that's like been in other things aside from the been in other like Looney Tunes projects aside from Eric Bauza. I don't think I noticed anything else.
That's weird. That's an interesting thing to point out. Newman is in 2 Looney Tunes things. 2
Looney Tunes films.
Maybe more. Maybe he's in more than that. Are we sure he's not? Like
2 Looney Tunes feature films. I don't. Yeah, we can look it up.
Like, is he like the?
Tell
Looney
us in
Tunes?
The comments if Wayne Knight is in more Looney Tunes things than just Space Jam and this movie.
Exactly.
Some other fun facts. This movie costed $15 million to make. I feel like that's a bargain.
That's yes. I was. That doesn't. Say.
That's pretty low for an animated feature, for sure.
Well, I feel like so the animation is wonderful, but I think the budget does show in the animation a little bit. Like it doesn't always reach the same heights as the classic Looney Tunes animation, and I guess maybe we shouldn't expect it to.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot less kind of wackiness than I would expect. You know, like you can fit a lot of that stuff in the Looney Tunes shorts. I know like the animators back like in the classic Looney Tunes, like they did all kinds of just crazy stuff. They were just having fun with it, right?
Yeah.
Like anything was a character, and like you know, you're playing the piano, those keys are moving all over the place and stuff. Like they're doing all kinds of crazy flips and everything. And that is kind of expensive to do, that kind of stuff, because you got to be as like, you know, just intricate. Out there as possible. Intricate. Yeah. You're just doing all kinds of stuff. So I get why there's not more of that. The only time we really get that kind of looniness per se is towards the end when Daffy Duck he's unchained and he's allowed to you know, just to set his looniness free. And so even then it gets a little loony. It doesn't get quite as loony as I would prefer, though.
Okay. Well, maybe that's that $15 million budget. They couldn't afford the looniness.
So this movie was originally intended to be premiered on Max or HBO Max or whatever you call it nowadays. You know, it could be just X. No, it can't be X now.
No, that's taken.
Maybe it'll just be Ma next week. We'll see.
Maybe.
It was purchased by Ketchup Entertainment, which nobody has ever heard of that before.
No.
And I don't know that, I'm not sure if they actually purchased the movie or if they just purchased the distribution rights.
That's what it sounds like, but I don't know either.
So they purchased the right to show this movie in theaters and make money off of it. And so So they're the ones releasing it around the world. They're releasing it here. And then so far as of this recording, I believe they've made about half of the budget back in theaters. So they've made about $7.5 million. It might be more at this point, actually. And I think that's pretty good. I'm not surprised that it's not more. There wasn't a ton of promotion that went into this movie. I did see a lot of promotion on social media as like the week that they were releasing it. Yeah. So I'd see just random sponsored posts popping up.
And they moved the release date multiple times.
They did, which was interesting because they moved it into March, which made it compete with a few different things. Notwithstanding, this is post Oscars. So like a lot of films from the Oscars are like going back into theaters and people are going to see them for the first time because nobody watches Oscar nominated pictures until they win.
Yeah. I think typically a movie wants to make like its budget back in the first weekend, or as much of its budget as it can in the first weekend.
Right.
So I think the number crunchers, the penny pinchers, the bean counters would probably not consider this a box office success.
Yeah, probably not. But I do think they'll eventually make their money back. I doubt there was a lot of money spent in promotion. So that's one thing.
Yes, there was very little spent in promotion, I think, yeah.
But yeah, you're right, though. Normally people would want, they would want to make double what the budget of the movie was, because that other half is like how much, promotion they had to do to get butts and seats.
Marketing.
And then they want to make profit after that.
Yeah.
But so that's interesting. But I do think so. If they purchase the distribution rights, that probably also means that they have the right to loan it out to streamers, I would assume.
I don't know how that's gonna work. Probably. Yes, I would assume that too.
So that might be where they make that. The bulk of their money, because I assume a lot of people are just going to not see this in theaters. They'll wait until it goes on to Netflix or Max. That'd be interesting if they loaned it back to Max.
Like that brings up a bunch of like Looney Tunes news, right?
Sure, yeah.
So word on the street is that because this movie did better than they were expecting, I guess, Coyote versus Acme is gonna come out. Have you heard this? Have you heard about this? You know about this?
Anybody hear about this? Anybody hear it? Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah, there's some articles coming out lately that Ketchup is now in talks with the Warner Brothers to purchase the distribution rights for, I think they said $50 million, or maybe it might be awesome. Closer to $40 million. I think basically it might be that they saw their opportunity to buy this picture as a way to get their foot in the door, like as a relationship with Warner Brothers. Yeah. Because Warner Brothers reportedly was not open to negotiating a price on how much they would sell Coyote versus Acme for. And I think they were asking, it was either $50 million or $60 million flat, and they wouldn't take any offers or anything. And they only had like a very small window where they would even allow companies to submit offers. So I think just I think Ketchup Entertainment was just like, we'll get our foot in the door, then we'll try and, get a little bit more. And now there's also articles about Warner Brothers is apparently looking to sell the Looney Tunes franchise altogether, which that is massive news. It's kind of crazy.
So why doesn't anybody seem to value the Looney Tunes brand? It's crazy. Like HBO Max took all of the cartoons off of their platform, and now Warner Brothers is trying to sell the IP. Why don't they think it's good? Why don't they want it? Why doesn't anybody want Looney Tunes? What did they do to anybody?
Yeah, it's very strange. I mean, it's very interesting too, the way that they revived the brand with the Looney Tunes cartoons, and they paid homage to like the classics and all that, and they made it
the
unique.
best they've ever done, I think. The closest approximation they've ever got to the originals, I think. In my opinion.
And somehow it's not enough, but there's all kinds of crazy things going on with Warner Brothers Discovery. The merger of that brand is toxic, it feels like.
So what we need to do, I think, DadToons and the DadTooniverse, that's what we call our fans.
Sure, yeah, we call them Toonies.
Toonies. We'll buy.
We're workshopping it.
We will buy the rights to Looney Tunes.
Right. So click our link to our GoFundMe, and
if you don't
we'll be
see
collecting $50 million to purchase Coyote versus Acme. So that way we can end up. Yeah, we actually need to like compete against Ketchup Entertainment in order to get our foot in the door to buy Looney Tunes. So if anybody has a few $100 million, what's that?
Let's just buy Ketchup Entertainment. I've never heard of it until last week. I think we can swing it.
Yeah, can we buy them for like $1 million?
yeah, there you go.
Where are they getting their money from?
That's a good point. Ketchup Entertainment, buy Looney Tunes, and we'll show them on our YouTube channel. No.
Yeah, just let us use them for free.
What's in it for them?
What's in it for them?
Yeah. In that scenario.
The gratitude of our infinite swaths of fans.
That's right. That's right. All 47 of them.
Yes. No, I think it's about, isn't it like 56 subscribers we got right now?
Well, we missed our 50 subscriber special.
We got our plaque that goes in the background.
The 50 subscriber plaque comes on a Post-it note.
Perfect.
The 100 subscriber plaque is like a postcard. It's like a piece of cardboard.
Mm-hmm. And you have to write it yourself.
Yes, you have to write it yourself.
That's just part of the thing.
That's right.
But yeah, I did have some questions too. Like if we want to do a question segment, do you have any questions, Brady?
What kinds of questions?
Is the goo that falls on their roof a coincidence? Because nobody else has goo on their roof. There's no goo just sitting around in the city.
That's a good. Aren't they? They're like being monitored by the alien or something, right?
No, there's no reason. There's no reason, as far as I know, that they're even brought into this mess.
Oh, that's the inciting incident, the goo on their roof. So how did the goo get on their roof to begin with, and why their roof?
Yeah, why their roof?
Well, that's the ultimate question of any hero in a story. Why them? Right?
Okay.
Because they're chosen because it's their time.
It's destiny, is what you're saying.
Yes, it's destiny. Destiny, yes. Well, that's why the movie is about them, because the goo was on their roof. If the goo was on their neighbor's roof, the movie would be about their neighbor.
Yeah, I guess because the neighbor would end up going and trying to get other jobs because they can't get any jobs, and then somehow end up at the gum factory.
Maybe the neighbor
snoop around the gum factory and figure out that there's some crazy alien plot going on.
If it happened to the neighbor, a different crazy thing would happen, and that's why storytelling is so cool.
Why has nobody else seen the goo?
Oh, well, the scientist at the beginning saw it, right?
Yeah, and he instantly got zombified. Why did they not get zombified from the goo
That's a good question.
that came from their roof?
Is it because they didn't chew it? Do you have to chew it to be zombified?
Well, I think the scientist got taken over right away, right? As far as we know.
I don't remember.
It was a cutaway.
Probably, yes.
But yeah,
these are good questions. It is a mysterious goo. And maybe we'll learn more about the goo in the sequel.
Maybe it'll stay mysterious from now to the end of time.
I sure hope so. My question, I guess, is, are they planning on making more? And if they are, like, what's next? Would it be another Porky and Daffy adventure? Or would we get to see the Bugs Bunny version?
Well, there was a Bugs Bunny movie that was planned to be created and put on Max, and it was canceled. Yes. So let's look that up real quick. It was called Bye Bye Bunny.
Was this another thing that like they made and then threw away for a tax scam or something like that?
That's a good question. It was also set to be released on HBO Max. It was announced in 2022. And in 2022, in September, somebody had from the props and effects design revealed the entire production team on the film was laid off. And then following day, it was reported that the film had been put on hold to retool it as a full-fledged musical. And then
people don't get Looney Tunes. They just don't get it at all. It's not that complicated, but they just don't want to make a real Looney Tunes movie. Like, once so many people get involved and there's so many cooks in the kitchen, you can't
a
make
musical is so weird.
Yeah.
Because, you know, famously Looney Tunes and Merry Melodies is just, they're doing actions that are going with film score, but they're not like usually like there's parts where they're singing and stuff, but it's usually gags. They're not singing out motivations and things like that.
Yeah, they're not musicals. That's not what Looney Tunes is about.
Yeah. So that's interesting. But yeah, it was confirmed in August 2024 that the film was canceled. So that's unfortunate, but not surprising. So that's the answer to that question. Thank you for asking that question.
I guess they were gonna. Yeah. Bummer.
Yeah. Anyways, what's your overall take on this movie?
My overall take is I'm really glad they did it. They got the Looney Tunes the best they ever have. I'm glad that there's a theatrical animated Looney Tunes movie and that it's pretty good. B+.
Sure. I think a lot of the things that people are saying is that, you know, the animation is gorgeous. It's so gorgeous.
Yeah.
The animation is good. It's very sound. Like we said, there's not a lot of looniness, but overall the animation's great. It looks decent. It looks pretty. Like we said, it looks kind of like what you would expect from Tiny Toons or something, but it looks nice. Yeah. Nice and clean. Overall, I think it was a little too long, but I think the premise is fun. I like that it's, you know, like a B movie. I dislike the fact that we don't get a lot of Looney Tunes cameos. That said, it's fine. It's fine. I'll watch it again maybe, and maybe my kids will want to watch it again. And I do hope that this leads to Ketchup Entertainment purchasing Coyote versus Acme. I know a lot of people are buzzing to see that movie. The whole internet wants to see it, especially with the actors involved saying how great it was and how fun it was and everything. And if it comes out and they're lying, then we know to not believe them next time.
That's a great point. To your point about the length, I think Looney Tunes, like the classic Looney Tunes, are like 7 minutes. And that's part of the appeal of them. Is that you can fit so much in so short a time. And they're wacky and they're zany and they don't have to make sense. And
they're packed. They're packed with action.
And that's part of it. When you have to extend that to like a full movie with a story, it's hard to make it as silly or as nonsensical because you have to sustain it for 90 minutes. I think they kind of solved that it's a little episodic. Like there are, the way that I said, like it seems like there's a bunch of climaxes. I feel like that's on purpose because that's their way of like preserving the looniness. And I think they did a good job and they should be commended for that. B+. I
think if we're going off of that rating system, because we haven't officially described a rating system yet, I'll go with a B or a B-. In between a B and a B-. I think there's a lot of room for improvement. And I think, I really hope they do more of this kind of thing in the future because it is like, characters that we love. And it's just, there's so much possibility with this universe, really. And I think if you put it out in front of people nowadays, you're going to gain a lot more audience that will respect and love Looney Tunes like 100%. We do.
Absolutely. Yes. So this was the first DadToons review. We'll do more of them. So thanks for watching DadToons and go watch more of them. There are more episodes. You can watch the first one we did, which is the Wabbit Who Came to Supper, which is great. It's great. So you should go watch that. So thanks for watching. That's all. Bye. I'm done.
Yeah. Have a good night.
DadToons, grab a snack and you can sit down. Watch some daddies talking about animation now. Tell you what they like and what they also didn't too. DadToons about to hit you with a great review. Hey!